Let's start here. You've got a legislative effort that you have been working on that's making a little bit of progress, right?
Absolutely. So I sponsored a resolution that uses the Congressional Review Act to repeal a regulation the Biden administration imposed on water heaters. And specifically, there's a type of water heater that's manufactured in my district that the Biden administration intended to outlaw. And if they had done so, and if they were successful, then hundreds of jobs would have been lost in my community back home within Georgia's 3rd Congressional District. So I was very proud to bring, along with a few of my colleagues, a resolution to the floor. And we passed that resolution last week that cancels or repeals, whatever verb you want to use, that Biden regulation. And now goes to the Senate, where it's widely expected to pass, and it will save and preserve over 300 American manufacturing jobs in Griffin, Georgia.
When you say it's going to save and preserve these jobs, at the risk of getting really into the weeds here, because I know sometimes the devil's in the details, but what specifically was at issue here, and why was under the Biden administration, as you say, why were those jobs going to be lost under the prior administration?
The type of water heater they manufacture in Griffin, Georgia, at a great company called Rinnai America, is called a non-condensing tankless water heater. And the efficiency standards were adjusted by the Biden administration that would have set a standard that non-condensing tankless water heaters could never achieve. The technology could never achieve. Therefore, those non-condensing tankless water heaters that are principally manufactured at that facility in Griffin, Georgia, that facility would have gone out of business if this rule were to be implemented. So I'm really proud of the effort. And by the way, we got 11 Democrats. It was a bipartisan effort, but 11 Democrats across the aisle in support of my resolution, and excited to see its full passage and completion in the Senate.
Did any Georgia Democrats join your effort?
Not that I'm aware of, but we did have a few freshman Democrats, people with whom I've been able to build relationships. I mean, we do have a big freshman class across the board, so I was encouraged to see some freshman Democrats join. And they certainly heard over and over me talking about this issue nonstop for the past few weeks.
Let's shift gears, because it's a busy week in Washington. Tomorrow night, President Trump is expected to deliver a joint address to Congress. What do you want to hear from the president tomorrow night?
I think we're all very excited to hear about the update that he's going to provide over the first month of his very successful second term. I think we're also going to hear a lot about his strategy and his plan for tax cuts. It's one of the things that we're all working toward. We all want to make permanent many elements of President Trump's tax cuts from 2017, but we also want to expand upon some of the promises that he and many of us made on the campaign trail. We promised no tax on tips to folks in the service industry. We promised no tax on overtime. We want to provide additional enhanced tax relief for seniors. So we're excited about all the different ideas that have come to the front, and now it's time to lead. It's time to put that into legislation and pass a bill. And I know that's going to be coming up this Congress. And I'm already encouraged as a freshman in just my second month in office to have a signature piece of legislation that I really care about that impacts my district pass the House with bipartisan support.
You talk about some of the big issues during the campaign. I know that you were at some of the stops for now President Trump and now Vice President J.D. Vance as you were campaigning yourself. One of the most frequent issues that we heard about on the campaign trail was inflation, was the economy. We're taping this, just for the record, because people may see this later, but we're taping this on Monday, March 3rd. Tomorrow's March 4th. President Trump has announced that his proposed tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico are set to go into effect tomorrow. Some experts have argued that they could lead to higher inflation here at home. Do you agree with these proposed tariffs?
I think what President Trump wants to do is he wants to encourage people to manufacture here in America. And it's one of the things that, again, I'm proud to lead on this Rinnai America legislation. I mean, Rinnai is a Japanese company that wanted to invest in our state, in our community, employ 350 hardworking Georgians within that facility and great manufacturing jobs. I look to Kia. I represent the plant in West Point. That's another great example of foreign investment in our country. So I'm encouraged by his posture to want to revitalize the American manufacturing industry, which has been decimated after year after year after year of jobs moving overseas. But I also just want to offer some support broadly for the president's economic approach. I mean, I remember I worked in the White House by his side when we passed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017. That was passed in December 2017, and in 2018, The economy grew by 3.1%, which is the highest it's grown at that time. It was the highest in over a decade. So I think his economic policy is sound. I think it's one of the reasons why he was overwhelmingly elected and one of the reasons why he carried our state of Georgia. And I'm excited to see the impact of that once we're able to pass legislation that implements his economic agenda, hopefully later this spring.
It seems as though, hearing what you've said in our conversation, tax cuts are at the center of your priorities going into this legislative session. President Trump has advocated for that as well. If taxes are being cut, that means the revenue coming into the government is going to be lowered, all other things being equal. Another goal I know of conservatives is to eventually reach a balanced federal budget. If tax revenue is going down, how do you offset those cuts in the money coming into the federal budget?
Well, one of the things we're striving every single day is to uncover all the waste, fraud, and abuse that's been well documented throughout previous federal administrations. Under the Biden administration, $675 billion, this was a nonpartisan finding, was wasted through improper payments, through government programs. Some go to addresses that no longer exist. Some go to folks who are purportedly 200 years old. There's a criminal cartel and scheme that tries to defraud the government constantly. And when they're doing so, they're defrauding the American taxpayer because they're siphoning resources that should be going to hardworking Americans and instead going to people that try to manipulate the system to benefit their criminal enterprise. So
Congressman, I hate to cut you off, but I just want to be really clear because that's a pretty serious accusation, a criminal cartel scheme. Who's behind it?
You find a lot of people that want to defraud Medicaid, they want to defraud Medicare. We had a hearing about it 2 weeks ago in an oversight subcommittee meeting, and we specifically talked about it, and I think that was the word that was used throughout, is there was a criminal enterprise designed to try to defraud the government and defraud the American taxpayer by siphoning resources away from the people who need it most.
Should we be expecting some kind of sprawling RICO charges about this? I mean, this is if it's a coordinated effort, like you're saying, that would be pretty big news.
Well, I think that at the end of the day, what you're finding is, and you saw this during the COVID with PPP loans, you saw people trying to take advantage of the situation, and they do it because they try to take things away from the American taxpayer. So I'd encourage anybody to look at the hearing we had 2 weeks ago on this specifically. And what we want to do is have more controls over the system to ensure that money that is going to hardworking Americans is the money, the taxpayer dollars that you give to the federal government is going to the right cause. It's going to the right institution. It's not going to people that want to defraud the government.
Congressman, I want to be respectful of your time. Let me ask you one more question here on another topic that's been in the news a lot lately. The war in Ukraine is about 3 years old now. The Ukrainian President Zelensky visited the Oval recently, and that meeting, as you well know, turned into essentially a pretty vocal televised argument between President Trump and Ukrainian President Zelensky. What's your stance on the United States' position regarding the war in Ukraine? What should the United States be doing?
Well, I think one of the things we saw on display on Friday, and I had a chance as a staffer to sit on some of the bilateral meetings when I worked in the White House in the first Trump term, it was a rare display of a foreign leader disrespecting the Vice President of the United States by talking over him and not allowing him to make his points within the Oval Office. And I think one of the things that discouraged a lot of people is they're hoping to see the president of Ukraine want peace. And I think that's what I saw the National Security Advisor say today, that if and the president said this on Friday, if the president of Ukraine wants peace, he should come back to the White House and talk. But they're looking for signs of that. And I think everyone across our congressional district, across our state, wants to see us move toward peace, not just in Ukraine, but across the world. I think that strength with leadership, American leadership here at home, is the mechanism by which we can achieve that peace. And I hope that all parties, strive toward that. And I think that's one of the things we're hoping. I think it's one of the things President Trump will probably talk about tomorrow night is peace through strength. That was one of the campaign platforms upon which he ran. And it's one of the things that many House Republicans, myself included, ran on as well.
I think President Zelensky, and he has said this in so many words, I think he would also say that if this war is going to be ended through negotiation, through a treaty, that the Ukrainians and the Ukrainian government would want that ending with some guarantees of protection of Ukrainian sovereignty without rewarding Russia's aggression, because they did start the war.
And I'd be curious to see what conversations are being had behind closed doors there as it relates to what specific guarantees for which he's asking. But I think it returns to the president's point, which he made very publicly in the Oval Office on Friday, is he says, if you want peace, you can come here and talk. If you don't want peace, and I don't know what we're going to do. And I think that the President Zelensky's comments after that meeting suggest that he may want to restart conversations. So we'll see how that goes and look forward to the president addressing that tomorrow night. But I will say, as it relates to, again, federal government spending, it's one of the things that I know a lot of people across our congressional district and frankly the state of Georgia are discouraged by is what they view to be taxpayer dollars. We're all paying our taxes April 15th. They're discouraged about those taxes going to causes that they don't support here at home. So I'm eager to partner with my colleagues to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse from the federal government. There's a lot of it, and there's a lot of it that's been on display, and I'm excited about the progress we've made thus far. And I am excited, too, to try to generate more solutions to ensure that people who try to criminally take resources away from the Americans who need them the most are disabled and unallowed to do so as long as we do our job here in Congress passing laws that make it such.
Congressman Brian Jack, thank you very much.